Hello, welcome back. Today we're doing things a little bit differently. Normally I would talk about my process and would, draw something, but I kind of don't feel like doing that. And also, I feel like you kind of get the gist. I don't really think I did anything new and or different with my process today. So instead, we're going to talk about the subject matter that I'm drawing, which is Twilight. So if you grew up or you were like a teen or tween around 2005 to like 2013 or so, like I think that's the range, you probably grew up really steeped in Twilight fever. Essentially around that time, that's when Twilight was really, like, it came out, it was really hitting its peak. The book series obviously took over the universe, and then followed shortly thereafter by the film series, which I don't know, changed all of our lives for better or for worse. Okay, people used to on Twilight. That's really just the bottom line. Between 2005 to 2013, when Twilight was really like doing her thing, it was very contentious. Okay, it was very easy to make fun of. It was really quick, like a lot of people were really quick to poo-poo the series in and of itself for being silly or stupid or frivolous, whatever you might call it. And I know that's hard to believe now, because now it's kind of beloved for being a little camp. But at the time, I mean, for the girlies who were in it, y'all remember, it wasn't good. That is not to say that I was necessarily in the team Twilight camp. I honestly was kind of team ambivalent. My own personal history with Twilight is bear with me, story time. I was in Jamaica with my cousins when the first movie came out. I do remember that every single person, it felt like every single person, a lot of my friend group in high school were huge twihards. A little 2006 terminology for you. They were huge twihards, and they really wanted me to read the book. I was like, I'll get to it. I'll hit up my local library. I'll see what I can do. When the movie came out, my cousins had got the DVD. I happened to be in Jamaica at the time, and that was the only DVD we had on hand. We didn't have cable. This was the era of cable. Work with me. So there was nothing more for a bunch of teen girls to do but pop that DVD in. And my cousins were huge fans, so they popped that DVD in a million times over. I have seen that first Twilight movie so many times, you have no idea. But after watching the first movie, I was like, sure, I guess I'll give the book a whirl, and I hated it. I hated it so bad. Now, I'm going to be speaking mostly about the movies rather than the books, because one, I think the movies kind of leave it more open to be fun and campy, and two, I like the movies better than the books. So started the book series. They have their problems, you know them, you love them, whatever. I think there's a lot of reasons why Twilight, the movie, shouldn't really work today. It's very funny that they still do. There's, for instance, the fact that the entire series is kind of predicated on the fact that Bella's a fragile damsel in distress who need Edward come save her every 5 minutes. We don't really do that anymore, but hey, go off, sis. Love that for you. And then even worse is the fact that this relationship at the center of this love story at the center of this series is very toxic. Like, Edward's very controlling and weird. And like, he's up off your girl, but she loves it apparently, and it's kind of interesting because what are we trying to say? What are we trying to say? I do think the movies lessen some of those things, which is maybe why it's easier, like it's more palatable than the books are. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I have not read that book series since like 2008, and even then I only read like 1.5. So it is very possible that I am wrong. Actually, it's 100% possible that I'm wrong. And I also read the one where she was crashing out, so the relationship was probably at its worst in that one. But I mean, any man that's like, when I first met you, I'm disgusted by you and I don't talk to you for days and days and days and days, and then I come back like, hey baby, you good? maybe that's not the guy to get into a relationship with. I don't know. Call me crazy. Furthermore, there's also the fact that Renesmee exists and imprinting, that whole Jacob Renesmee situation. The movies couldn't even work their way around that one. They say, girl, I don't know. It's what's in the book. They should have probably cut that out. There's really no way to explain that. Like, this is weird. This is very strange. Oh. Okay. Overall, this series is basically highlighting this toxic spiral of a relationship that leaves our main character in depressive thoughts and dark ideation, if you get what I'm saying. And it doesn't actually dwell on it. It doesn't question it. It doesn't, try to find anything to say about it. It just presents it as a romantic relationship, and these are the normal trials and tribulations of relationship. Oh ho ho ho, oh well, he's a vampire. You know how it is. It doesn't question anything at all. It just presents as is a vampire and some vampire-ish. You're welcome. I do think today we have a lot of course correcting that's happening with, looking back at this series and revisiting this series. As they say, hindsight is 2020. So, we're looking back and we see the flaws, but also a lot of the people, myself included, who are looking back at this series are adults now. And so we're not necessarily in the same, danger of being led astray by Twilight and its questionable relationship ideals. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say is now we have fully formed frontal lobes and everything. And so when we watch Twilight back, there's no danger of falling into a bad idea of what romance is and what romance should look like. Well, maybe. Can't speak for everyone. But for the most part, you assume that and you look at it and you are able to differentiate okay, well, that's not good. I do think that because of that, we get to look at these kind of hyperbolic examples of a romantic relationship as funny. It feels like satire now. At least I know that's true for me. I look back at Twilight and I watch those movies and it's hilarious to me. It's satirical. It's hyperbolic. It's crazy. Bella and Edward's first meeting being the whole disgusted, crashing out. That's funny. Even you named my daughter after the Loch Ness monster? This is cinema. This is art. I think it's so easy to look back on it now with humor and to delight in the joys of how absolutely insane this movie is. I also think there's a level of trying to compensate for the fact that in Twilight's heyday, there was a lot of hatred towards it, specifically because teen girls were into it. And I think there's a lot of embracing of those things that make us cringe that's happening in today's society to some extent. I don't know. I can't speak for everybody. But I think there is definitely a level of embrace the things that are silly and fun about girlhood and growing up. And Twilight definitely falls into that sphere. There's a lot of girls who the entire community of teen girls got derided for enjoying something ridiculous and soapy. And now they're grown up and they're embracing all those things that brought them joy that they used to have to, there's a level of feel guilty about the things that you enjoy, and they're doing this now guilt-free. And I think that honestly, I think that's wonderful. Then there's also the fact that the stars of the movie, Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, who kind of had a bit of an aversion to it, fresh off of the series run. They had a little bit of I don't really want to talk about Twilight. I'm a serious actor. Now they're very publicly you don't like Twilight? Get on board, loser. They seem to be looking back at it with some level of fondness and tongue-in-cheek. It's cool to like Twilight now attitudes, when before the common attitude was very too cool for school type of vibes. Also, The fact that both of them are really good actors in properties that, let them stretch and play with their acting facilities does help, because I think it's easier to shun something when you think it's bad all around, but then you see someone or the people coming from this property being like really insanely talented, and you're like, oh, maybe they wasn't bad. It's much easier to do that. So why am I drawing Twilight, I guess? I had kind of a little assignment. My agent asked me to do like some mock book covers just to have in my portfolio, and when I was trying to think of books that I liked and books that I wanted to draw something for, someone threw out Twilight because they know I love the movies. And while I don't really mess with the books like that, Twilight was such a fun idea to play with that I had to do it. I feel like as a fantasy series, it does have, or it does present like a lot of interesting topics. I don't necessarily think it was handled the best. Once again, Renesmee exists. But I think when it comes to thinking of things, fun things to illustrate, it had everything, vampires in love, girl, it doesn't get better than that. I mean, it's a topic that everyone loves, and it's been very enduring over time, I guess. Like, think of how many vampires in love things we've gotten. True Blood, Vampire Diaries, Interview with a Vampire, so for better or for worse, vampires in love, that it sells. Anyway, that was me talking about Twilight for a little bit, just a couple musings, nothing crazy. But yeah, I just wanted to draw some Twilight, and I do owe you guys a video, so I had to put one out. And I happened to record this one, so here we are. I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe we could talk about other stuff that are pop culture related. I am a pop culture girly first and an artist second. I've always said that. That's not true. I've never said that at all. Anyway, that's it. Those are my musings on Twilight. Nothing crazy. I just wanted to put out something fun today. And what's more fun than Twilight? Am I right? Any Twihards, any former Twihards in the crowd tonight, please drop a little vampire fang in the comments. New videos on my channel every other Saturday. Bear with me, please. I am on deadline, so it's a little tricky right now, but I'm making it work. And you can catch me on the internet. All my links are below, but like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube things also down below, and I'll catch you on the internet sometime. Goodbye.